Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. This article that I will discuss during this video has to do with the status of the front. So we're going to find from the Ukrainian perspective what's going on the 1,200 mile long front in Ukraine or so. I know it's miles or kilometers, regardless, that's a long stretch right there. So this article comes from Ukrainska Pravda, so put your little Ukrainska Pravda, filters on. It's from Sunday, January 8, 2023. This is the title. Ukraine's defense forces strike 26 concentrations of Russian forces, General Staff report. Ukraine's defense forces struck 26 concentrations of Russian forces and repelled Russian attacks in the vicinity of 16 cities towards towns and villages over the course of the past 24 hours. All right, let's see. Quote, the enemy is deploying additional military personnel, weapons, equipment and ammunition to combat zones in order to replenish losses and support their offensive. End quote. Well, good that they still have them, right? And I'm quoting again, the enemy is suffering significant losses while conducting offensives on the Bakhmut, Avdiivka and Lyman fronts and trying to improve their tactical positions of its forces on the Kupiansk front. The occupation forces are on the defensive on the Zaporozhye and Kherson fronts. Despite the so-called ceasefire declared by the Russian President Vladimir Putin over Christmas, Russian forces carried out 9 missile strikes, 3 airstrikes and 40 attacks using multiple launch rocket systems, MLRS, over the course of 7th of January. Some of these attacks targeted civilian infrastructure, killing and injuring civilians. Now, you have to be very naive to think that that order meant nobody shoots anything. Because if that would mean that, really mean that, that means that when the Ukrainians are coming close to you to kill you, you know what I mean? You would not shoot back. Or you just allow the Ukrainians to cover territory because you're not going to shoot, right? Get better positions. You're not going to keep them at bay with some MLRSs so they don't, approach. I mean, that's so naive. But anyway, they say this like we are tards, and most of us are tards. Why? Because they don't think like this. They say, well, they said no war, ceasefire. See, he's lying. Well, that's a kid mentality, a child mentality. As I said, you need to keep the position steady. It doesn't mean you're going to be losing all this, or you're going to allow the enemy to regroup and reposition itself somewhere because you're not going to shoot. I mean, how dumb that is. So yes, you shoot in defense and in at least protecting what you have, the status quo that you established before the ceasefire. What's so hard to think about this? And this is just at a drop of a hat. And there are many other reasons why the Russians shot. You have people who don't follow orders. There are detachments who say fuck off. There are detachments who say, well, maybe it's just a suggestion. There are detachments who say, well, you know what, guys, what do you want to do? You want to go and celebrate, or you want to kill some enemy? It's a lot of, in a war, it's not as in the movie show you disciplined and nobody, unless you are on the good side, then it's a-okay. You're disciplined and you don't commit anything. But on the other side, you're just a party. No, you act according to the situation in the territory. I mean, it would be nice just to push a button and then a bulb turns on. Push another button and it turns off. But it's not like that. You deal with humans and with real life and death situations over there. But hey, let's move on. I think we got that covered, didn't we? Anyway. Over the course of the past 24 hours, Ukraine's defense forces repelled Russian attacks near 16 cities. Okay, we got that one, right? And he says the villages including Stalemakivka, Makivka and Bilohorivka, Luhansk Oblast, and Soledar, Bakhmut, Zalizne, Vodiane and Pobieba Pobieda in Donetsk Oblast. I read in another article that the situation is pretty bad in Soledar for the Ukrainians. They admit it, or they admit to it. Anyway, it's if the Ukrainians admit to the situation is a little bit like that means the situation is really over. You know, it's dead in the water, floating. That's it. So areas in and around Staritsia and Dvorichna, Kharkiv Oblast, came under Russian attack on the Siversk and Slobozhanchinya fronts. A Russian attack drone struck the area in the vicinity of Oleksandrivka. Russian artillery shelled areas in and around Ivanivka, Stelmakivka, and now 5 more in Luhansk Oblast on the Kupiansk and Lyman front. They said Lyman, the Russians are advancing, or at least conducting offensive operations. On the Bakhmut front, again another area where the Russians are in full swing. All right. On the Bakhmut front, Berestove, Bilohorivka, Vesele, and about 5 more, the New York, Donetsk Oblast, came under Russian fire. On the Avdiivka front, again, that's in Russian offensive front, Russian forces shelled Nevelske, Marinka, and Novoyahailivka in Donetsk Oblast. On the Novopavlivka front, used to be another front where the Russians were conducting offensive operations. Now it seems like it's nothing. It says here that Velika, Novorsilka, and other 3 other settlements in Donetsk Oblast came under Russian fire. So nothing, just okay. On the Zaporozhye and Kherson fronts, Russian forces deployed tanks, guns, mortars, and tubed and rocket artillery to fire on areas in and around Antonivka, Chirivne, Dorbababa, and then about 5 more in Zaporozhye Oblast. The General Staff also reported that Russian occupying forces stopped broadcasting all Ukrainian TV channels in Hornostaivka and about 3 more settlements on the occupied territory of Kherson Oblast. Only Russian TV is broadcasting in those areas. So what's the problem? You forbade certain kind of Russian media to be broadcast in Ukraine. So what's the big problem? I don't understand. I mean, it's like someone kills someone and cries that, hey, he slapped someone else. You just killed someone and you talk about someone slapping someone else? Yeah, basically. Right, and Ukraine's aircraft carried out strikes on 21 areas where Russian forces were concentrated, and 3 Russian anti-aircraft missile systems were destroyed. 3 Russian Orlan 10 reconnaissance drones were shot down. Ukraine's rocket forces and artillery struck a Russian command post, 5 concentrations of Russian military personnel and equipment, and 2 ammunition storage points. That's it. That's it, what these guys want us to know from their perspective. I looked over some other articles, about 3 of them, and there's a location where the Ukrainians are supposedly breaking through. They claim they crossed the Dnieper River on the other side, on the eastern side of the Dnieper River, on the left bank, and they conduct offensive operations over there. They say the Russians brought over there ammunition and troops and weapons to defend that area. I don't know if that's so, but the fact is, in Bakhmut and Soledar, they are not winning, and it seems like it's a tense situation over there, according to the Ukrainians, not the Russians, the Ukrainians. And I will make a video, I think, in today. I'm not certain because I don't have a lot of information yet on Soledar. But anyway, Miss Maliar, I think she's a spokeswoman of the Ministry of Defense of Ukrainian Armed Forces. She said that the situation in Soledar is very, very difficult. That means we'll find out. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.